I don't think I'd ever seen, until now, The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. And I think that's largely because I wasn't a huge fan of the first film as a child. I think I maybe saw it once growing up. I have since then seen it. And I decided it's time to finally check out the second one. I had no idea what it was about. I had absolutely no knowledge about this. So I went in with very limited information. And I can say it's fine. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a brilliant film, but it's not terrible. The film was released in 2002. It's directed by Bradley Raymond and it's written by Flip Kobler, Cindy Marcus, and Joe Selbo. And we have a voice cast including Tom Hulce. I apologise if I mispronounced that. Jennifer Love Hewitt as a character called Madellaine. I'll talk about her in a moment. We also have Michael McKean, Demi Moore, Kevin Kline, Haley Joel Osment. Really great voice cast, really good voice acting. No problems there at all. The animation itself, absolutely stunning. And well, I was going to say that's worth noting because sometimes sequels aren't as good in terms of the animation quality, but with Disney, I don't really find that that's the case. And there are a few parts to the narrative, everything's tied together quite well. I won't go into too much detail, I won't spoil too many of the new elements that are brought into the film, but there are quite a few new aspects, new characters. This is set 6 years in the future, so obviously there has been enough time for new elements to be brought in, and Quasimodo meets a character called Madellaine. And we have a potential love interest, but it's not completely straightforward. It's not completely innocent. Madellaine is part of this circus troupe, and the owner of the circus has some ill intentions regarding the bell of the tower, and I'll say no more than that. But all of those aspects tie together really well. It's very well written. The pacing is really good. Madellaine is a very well written character. I thought she was quite interesting. I certainly liked her, and I didn't know what to expect with the outcome of her character or that part of the narrative. So it was decent. It worked well. I absolutely did not mind it, but at the same time, I didn't come away from it thinking this was really necessary. There are some Disney sequels, for example, Simba's Pride, which I think are just absolutely incredible. There are some Patch's London Adventure, maybe, which I love. I have to say it's brilliant, but it doesn't feel necessary. It feels like it could just disappear and we wouldn't really lose anything from the development of that particular universe. We do get some progression here, but I just feel like, I don't want to say it's not canon because that's not the case, but when I think of Hunchback of Notre Dame, I'm probably not going to think of the sequel as being part of the main story, whereas I do with films like Simba's Pride. It does feel like a necessary continuation. Maybe it's just because I don't love the first film that much that I'm not really that emotionally attached to this story or the characters or their development. I'm absolutely willing to admit that, but obviously from my perspective, in my opinion, if this film never existed, I don't think we'd be missing out on too much. But that being said, it is okay, at least as a one-time watch. I can't imagine I'd ever watch it again, but it's okay. The music is pretty decent. My favourite song is An Ordinary Miracle, which is sung by Quasimodo, and I rather like that one. So it's not bad. It's watchable. I'd say it's more than watchable, but at the same time, I don't feel like it adds too much. By which I mean there are changes, we have new characters and things, but it feels like it's a little bit pointless. And I guess the real reason I feel like that is that I didn't feel like the first film needed a sequel. I don't think a sequel was necessary. I felt quite, as much as I don't love the first film, I felt quite satisfied with how everything was wrapped up. And whereas, again, maybe it's just my bias, we get to the end of The Lion King, there are huge changes, it's really dramatic, and I want to know what happens next. I never had that with Hunchback of Notre Dame. Obviously, if I did, I would have immediately watched the sequel. So I don't think it was necessary to create a sequel, but it's not terrible. If you liked the first film, absolutely check it out. If you didn't like the first film, I'd say it's probably not worth it. I don't think, in my opinion, my opinions haven't changed about any of the characters or anything. I feel like it's maybe not as strong as the first film. I think we're rehashing some of the same themes from the first film, but with a little bit of character development. So, to bundle all of that together, I can conclude by saying The Hunchback of Notre Dame 2 is not a bad film. I didn't dislike it, but by the end of it, I wasn't really feeling like a sequel was necessary still. If you're a fan of the first film, definitely check it out. But if you didn't like the first film, I'd say it's probably not worth it.